some granola for Christmas presents, and actually this is a trial run, and if it tastes good then I'll make 4 more batches and put them in gift bags and give those to coworkers and friends for the holidays. So this particular version of granola is going to be a pumpkin spice granola, so it's going to be heavily spiced and pretty sweet. First I'm going to mix all of the wet ingredients with the spices to make sure that they get equally incorporated. We're going to go ahead and pour in 1/3 cup of melted coconut oil. Then we're going to go ahead and add in 1/3 cup of maple syrup. Then we're going to go ahead and add in 1/2 cup of pumpkin puree. And this is from last year's pumpkins, just something that I defrosted in the microwave. And then it calls for 2 teaspoons or tablespoons of backstrap molasses. So I'm just going to eyeball this. It's about 1. So that's about 2. You don't want to overdo it on that because it's pretty pungent. Just grab a spoon and then I'm just going to mix this up so it's combined. I'm also going to go ahead and add in the zest of 1 orange, a teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/8 teaspoon of cloves, 1/8 teaspoon of allspice, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of ginger, and 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg. Stir that in to make sure it gets incorporated. The other thing I have here is a cup of pecans. I just bought the pecan halves because those were by far the cheapest. And there seems to be a high price nuts this season. So I just whacked them with a spoon or a spice jar actually, and to break them up a little bit so they are kind of a differentiated pieces. Anything that's still pretty big in a whole I'm just going to break up by hand. And I add these in now so that they get fully coated with the fat and sugar mixture, which makes them toast extra well when they get into the oven. Alright. The other thing I'm going to add is a cup of cranberries, but I'm going to do that after they come out of the oven. If you put the cranberries in before they come out of the oven, or before they go into the oven rather, the cranberries are going to get really hard and unpalatable, so you want to mix those dried cranberries in after the fact. Now I need 3 cups of oats. And again, not an exact measure, folks. Okay. Stir that up. Make sure everything's coated. And then I'm going to spread it out into a baking sheet that's lined with foil. It's really just so that I don't have to clean the pan when we're done. Go ahead and spread it out pretty evenly. You want to use a large baking sheet if you've got it. The faster this can toast and dehydrate in your oven, the less time you have to spend doing this, and you can get on to something else. Alright, I'm going to put this in the oven at 350. I'm going to leave it about 10 minutes, and then I'm going to check it, kind of toss it around with a fork so that the undersides get toasted, and then stick it in for another 5 to 10 minutes. I'm going to continue to do that until it gets to the consistency that I'm looking for. Okay, now the granola is toasted and dry, so I'm going to go ahead and add about a cup or so of the dried cranberries. And then I'm going to stir those in. Any clumps, just go ahead and break those up. Now, just for comparison purposes, this is the toasted cranberry or granola, and this is the untoasted granola. It's much darker. Definitely, when you taste the nuts, they taste really roasted, and the color is much darker, and it's crispy when you cook it or when you stir it. So that's one of the ways you can tell it's done, is that it starts sounding a little bit more crispy in the oven. And that did take about 35 minutes. It's gonna, the time is gonna depend on how much liquid you put in, and since we added the pumpkin and the maple syrup and the coconut oil, there was quite a bit of liquid in there to dry off. You're gonna wanna make sure that it's cool all the way before you start packaging it into gift bags or jars to give for gifts. Welcome back. We have made several batches at this point. There's one straight out of the oven. Here's one I've added some cranberries to that's cooling down. Once it's cooled, I just combine it into a big bowl so I could easier package it up. And then here's one finished project. I'll be giving those as gifts for at work primarily, since we tend to give our family jam and whatnot. So simple project that takes most of the afternoon, just because you have to keep checking the oven and stirring. But other than that, it's a tasty way to celebrate the holidays. Thanks so much for joining me, and I hope to see you again soon.